Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I am Graham G.S. Matthews, where I review all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. As we near the end of my Royal Rumble review series, today we talk about the 2014 installment, which of course is widely considered one of the worst Rumble events of all time. So let's break it down, starting with the opening match. Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt, a great fucking wrestling match. These two had a pretty good feud going into the pay-per-view, with Daniel Bryan being part of the Wyatt family, and originally the plans called for Bryan to be a part of the group leading up until at least WrestleMania. But because of his popularity and because of his surging popularity and just the plans not really going the way they should have, with Daniel Bryan getting so over with the audience and they didn't want to see that and they were cheering him anyway, they changed course. They had Bryan break away from the group and they did the match at the Royal Rumble. I believe they might have been saving it for WrestleMania, so I'm glad they broke it off early, so what happened ended up happening at WrestleMania. But these two had a great fucking wrestling match, as I said. Bray Wyatt, up to this point, had a great character, great faction backing him up, but we had yet to see a real breakout performance from the guy. He had a couple good matches with Kofi Kingston and CM Punk and a few others, but other than that, we had really yet to see a breakout singles match from this guy in either NXT or in WWE. This was that match. He proved to me that he could really go in there and have a great match with whoever he was put in the ring with. Being put in the ring with Daniel Bryan was obviously icing on the cake, considering how great of chemistry they had together in the ring. A lot of back and forth action. Daniel Bryan battling back against the angry, vehement Bray Wyatt with no Wyatt family members at ringside. They were banned from ringside almost from the get-go, so no interference. You can expect none of that throughout this entire matchup. Daniel Bryan battling back, as I said, as Bray Wyatt just completely breaks down Daniel Bryan piece by piece by piece. Every single time Daniel Bryan looks to get something going, Bray Wyatt just keeps on breaking him down, and then it gets down to the final stretch. Not a single dull moment throughout the entire match. They got almost 20 minutes, and that's what I like about the Rumble pay-per-views. More often than not, the undercard matches, because of the Rumble match and that being almost an hour long, the undercard matches get to go a little bit longer than they typically would on any other pay-per-views. These guys got almost 20 minutes of in-ring time. They absolutely made the most of it. Had a awesome instant classic in the middle of that ring. And in the end, Daniel Bryan did a flying tope through the ropes. Bray Wyatt catches him, hits him with Sister Abigail, which connects into the barricade, throws him back into the ring, hits another Sister Abigail, and covers them for the victory. So 2 Sister Abigails for the clean victory, and in my mind, absolutely cemented Wyatt as a star on the rise. Unfortunately, he would lose to John Cena at WrestleMania, which kind of hindered his momentum a little bit, or a lot, considering where he is now, and all the other losses he's acquired since that point. But still, it was a great match, and a win over Daniel Bryan was, it meant a lot, and it still does mean a lot. The guy's a former World Heavyweight Champion. This was before he main evented WrestleMania, and he would eventually win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship back in the main event of that show. But even before that, Daniel Bryan was a former 2-time WWE champion, so it still meant a lot. Or rather, maybe he was 3-time WWE champion, excuse me. But still, a great match, a breakout performance for Bray Wyatt that really proved to me that he was capable of having matches such, of this caliber. So an awesome opening contest, and unfortunately, everything after this would really pale in comparison. So after that, we had Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show, which had been building up for a few weeks from Brock Lesnar's return to WWE TV on the final Raw of 2014, or 13 rather. And Big Show had gotten the better of Brock Lesnar on a few different occasions on Raw leading up to this matchup. And thankfully, the match only went 2 minutes long. It really wasn't a match at all. Brock Lesnar just beat the holy shit out of Big Show at the steel chair, followed it up with an F5, and that was it. So basically, a 2-minute long match. A dud of a match, but a great angle with Brock Lesnar just getting great heat by beating the living crap out of Big Show, the steel chair. And Big Show would be off TV, I think, for maybe a month or two. He would be off TV until the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But a great angle. The match sucked. I mean, it really wasn't a match, but it was a great way of furthering Brock Lesnar's momentum going into his WrestleMania match with The Undertaker when he would challenge the streak and ultimately break it. But I really wasn't looking forward to this match as, I can't wait to see what Brock Lesnar and Big Show do. A lot of people were excited about the match because they were hoping that we would get the caliber of a match that they had back in 02-03. Those were some really good matches, probably some of Big Show's best matches in his entire career. But since then, though, he really hasn't had many breakout matches, with the exception of his match with Sheamus in late 2012. Those two had good chemistry. But other than that, Big Show really wasn't capable of having those kind of matches anymore. So I really wasn't expecting him to go in there and have a great wrestling match with Brock Lesnar. And thankfully, they altered the course. They gave us something different, and it succeeded in what it set out to do in furthering Brock Lesnar's momentum going into WrestleMania. So after that, for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Randy Orton defending against John Cena. And this match is infamous for the chants heard by the crowd throughout the entire match. Boring. We want peanuts. We want divas. You both suck. The match was really nothing of note. It was a typical Orton and Cena match. I kind of enjoyed the TLC match to an extent because it was something new for the two. They had never done it. They have done Hell in a Cell matches. They had done Iron Man, I Quit. You name it, they've done it. They had never done TLC before, so that was an alright match. But another straight-up singles match between the two. To go from a TLC match to a singles match on pay-per-view was ass backwards, in my opinion. But anyway, the match itself, from a wrestling standpoint, wasn't bad. It was solid, but it was obvious the crowd was having none of it. They didn't give two shits about the match because we had seen it so many times before. What was the point in doing another Cena and Orton match if we'd already seen it a million times, especially for the World Championship? I didn't care about seeing Cena as champion. I didn't care about seeing Orton as champion. And the crowd, the only real positive reaction this entire match got was when the Wyatt family interfered, who Orton bashed in his pre-match promo backstage. The Wyatt family came out, but instead of attacking Randy Orton, they cornered John Cena. They did not make any contact. Orton capitalized, hit the RKO on Cena to pick up the win, retain his title, and the Wyatt family attacked John Cena afterwards, setting the stage for their WrestleMania match. So, the match was nothing of note at all. I'm not even going to say it was bad, because it was your typical Cena-Orton affair, who can have really good matches in the right environment, with the right story. This was not the right crowd for it, and they were absolutely justified in shitting all over this match, because I did not give two shits. I'm sure many other people didn't as well, about seeing Cena and Orton for the trillionth time on pay-per-view for a world championship. So thankfully, they let them know about it, and we have yet to see another... That's a lie. We had another Cena-Orton match later on that year inside Hell in a Cell. But other than that, we have yet to see these two go one-on-one again inside the chamber. Or not inside the chamber. They had a match inside the chamber the following month with 4 other guys. But, a match period on pay-per-view. So it was what it was. It was made entertaining by the crowd chants, for better or for worse. But it was entertaining from that aspect. From an in-ring standpoint, it was your typical match between Cena and Orton. So we get to the Rumble match itself. Now, I consider this one of the worst Rumbles in recent history, if not of all time. At least the 2015 Rumble, which was awful too, don't get me wrong. At least that was pretty good for the first 10, 12 entrants. The surprises with, who was it? Bubba Ray, Boogeyman, DDP. I'll get to that Rumble when I review it tomorrow here on the channel on Rumble Sunday. But with this Rumble, I just didn't fucking care. Because the only real people that I thought had a chance of winning were Bryan, Punk, and Batista. That's really the only 3 people that anyone really thought were going to win the Rumble. Punk started out as number 1, and I can't even really say he had a great showing. He was up there until the final 4 or 5, I think. But he was already beat up. This match is notable for being his last WWE match before he would quit the company the following day. And he was already beat up by this point. He was not in good shape, health-wise. So he was kind of sitting in the corner for most of the match. He really did not do much. He did some stuff with Rollins. I thought kicking off the match with him and Rollins was great, considering Punk was feuding with them at that time, was feuding with the Shield. So that made perfect sense. We had Alexander Rusev making a surprise appearance, so that was cool, before he would be called up to the main roster right after WrestleMania. We had a surprise return from Kevin Nash, which was cool. I mean, we had already seen it in 2011, but I always pop for the NWO music. El Torito coming out was a complete waste because he did nothing. It was a comedy spot, but it was not the right environment for it. Or Pittsburgh rather, did not appreciate it. And then JBL coming in for a minute. They popped for that too. It was cool to see JBL back in the ring, but again, it was pointless. It was just to give Roman Reigns another elimination because he was in there for all of 40 seconds before he got thrown out by Roman Reigns. He didn't even get physical. It was a complete waste. It was almost as bad as the commentators getting called up in the ring in 2012. But the rest of the match, really, nothing of note happened. I mean, Kofi Kingston avoided elimination by jumping on the barricade. That was cool. But there really weren't many stories. Punk went the distance, for the most part, almost went the distance, before he got eliminated by Kane, who was already eliminated from the Rumble. So I really just didn't care. I didn't care. There weren't really many stories to tell in this Rumble. So in the end, it came down to Sheamus, who also made a surprise return, which was also cool. And Batista really didn't. He got a pretty decent pop, but once it became known that Daniel Bryan wasn't going to be in the Rumble, which was really a lot of people were counting on, myself included, Rey Mysterio, who got booed out of the building at number 30, the poor guy, he just got massacred by the crowd. They cheered when he got eliminated shortly thereafterwards. And it was really all downhill from there. The rest of the match wasn't good anyway. It wasn't like it was a good match, and then it really went to the shitter. Became the drizzling shits as soon as it was known Daniel Bryan wasn't in the match. It wasn't a good match anyway. It only got worse when Daniel Bryan wasn't announced to be a part of it, which made no sense. Even if they were going to go the route that they did with Batista winning, they had to have known based off the pop that Daniel Bryan got earlier on in the night and just the reaction that he had been getting for weeks, that the crowd was going to shit on it or negatively respond to the Rumble if he wasn't a part of it. The least they could have done was bring him out at a later number and have him get thrown up by Batista. At least that wouldn't... It probably would have been the same reaction, but at least they would have put him in the Rumble, because Daniel Bryan, he had been the biggest star on Raw for weeks, for months. He was getting the biggest reactions out of anybody. So he didn't need to win. I mean, he should have won, but at least Batista throwing him out, or, I don't know, Kane taking him out in one of the final four instead of CM Punk, at least that would have made more sense. The crowd would have been maybe a little bit more receptive towards the Rumble. And if Batista came back as a surprise return in the Rumble and won it, I feel like they would not have shit on it as much as they did. I've said that since day one for the last 2 years, that if Batista was not announced ahead of time and it wasn't extremely predictable as it was, and he came back in the Rumble itself without them announcing him beforehand, it probably would have been a lot better received than if Daniel Bryan came in, and then if Daniel Bryan, or rather, if he was announced ahead of time, he took a spot away from Daniel Bryan, as people said, and then won the Rumble because it had been seen coming from a mile away. So it was poorly wrestled, poorly constructed Rumble. Batista was not in good shape still by this point. He did not look good here. He looked gassed 5 minutes in. He got better as his run went along, but from his first match in, he did not look good. So it came down to him, Sheamus, and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, who another great story, eliminated 12 competitors, beating Kane's record from 2001, from 13 years earlier. So he broke that record. Roman Reigns got rid of Sheamus. It came down to Batista and Roman Reigns, which was great because the same match 1 year later when Roman Reigns won, the crowd would shit all over him too, also in Pennsylvania. But anyway, the crowd popped huge for Roman Reigns, and in the end, Batista threw him out, and he would win the Rumble, and he would go on to WrestleMania to go for the championship before Daniel Bryan got involved, and so on and so forth. But the crowd shit all over it. The crowd pooped all over the ending of this match. It really pooped all over the final few minutes when Daniel Bryan was announced to be not a part of it. When it was made apparent that he was not going to be a part of the match, that's when they started shitting all over it. But Batista winning was the completely wrong move, and what would boggle my mind even more was when they would make the same mistake the next year with Roman Reigns. But anyway, so that was that. Batista winning was absolute shit. The match was no good. I consider it worse than the 2015 Rumble match with Roman Reigns winning, just because that had a few bright spots, and I'll talk about that when I review it tomorrow. But this one, Roman Reigns eliminating 12 people was cool. The Shield, the split, the planting of the seeds for that was cool. Ultimately, they would not split up for another couple more months until June of that year. They were originally going to do it on the road to WrestleMania, but they nixed it, and they ended up staying together for a few more months, which was great, so they could feud with Evolution. So that was awesome. Kevin Nash's surprise return was all right. That was kind of cool for the time it lasted. Rusev coming in was nice. But other than that, there really weren't many, and Sheamus returning too was cool, but other than that, there really weren't many bright spots, any highlights about this Rumble. A lot of it was just dull. No one gave a shit. It was predictable. And it was, infamous for Daniel Bryan not being a part of the Rumble and Batista winning it and the crowd shitting all over it. So that was the 2014 Royal Rumble. Not my favorite show by any stretch. Not a good show at all. I mean, the opener was great. If there's any one match to watch, obviously it's the opener. Brock Lesnar and Big Show served its purpose. It wasn't a match, so to speak, but it served its purpose in getting heat on Lesnar. Orton and Cena was really not that good from, an enjoyment standpoint. The crowd chants made it entertaining, but the match itself was not really all that great at all. And the Rumble match was shit. The winner was shit. The match was shit. Very few very good stories told in that Rumble. A few twists and turns here and there, but other than that, not a great Rumble at all. So I really wouldn't watch it if I were you. If you want to check out the chants, if you want to check out the crowd completely turning on the ending of the match just to see what a crowd looks like when they get super angry about something, check it out for the final few minutes alone. But other than that, it's not a great Rumble and not worth your time. And the whole show is really a dud. The opener was great. Lesnar and Big Show was not worth watching, but it was a good angle, not worth watching though. Batista and Orton was same old shit, and the Rumble was poorly constructed. So, not worth your time. That's the 2014 Royal Rumble. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. And tomorrow, right here on the channel, we wrap up my Rumble review series with my review of the 2015 Royal Rumble as we get closer and closer to the 2016 installment. So until then, guys, find me on Twitter at WrestleRant. Follow me there. Follow me on Facebook. Find me there at facebook.com/Graham.Jason.Matthews. I'm sorry, I'm completely out of it today. My voice is still shit, so I apologize. I'm recording this super early in advance, so I apologize. But anyway, find me on Facebook, Twitter, and like, comment, share, and subscribe, as I said before. We'll catch you guys tomorrow for my full review of the 2015 Royal Rumble. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.